So I'm glad to be here today, but I'm even happier now than I was this morning because everything that happened this morning is in my presentation, so I can almost sit down and just be done. Everything I want to talk about, we already talked about this morning, which is a good thing because it tells me that, one, we're not the only ones struggling with these things, but two, we're all on the same path, which means we have a good message for our providers, our system suppliers. So before I get started, by show of hands, who here is a technology provider? Quite a few. Okay, how about OEMs and system integrators? Anybody? Oh, we got a couple. Okay. End users. Okay, so that looked like that covered just about everybody. Did I miss anybody important? You're all important, so the answer should be yes, because I missed somebody. But the two general groups that I want to talk to are the end users, who I'm hoping to have the support of, and the technology providers, who I'm hoping to give you some ideas, and maybe even some direction changes in what you can do to make our lives easier as end users. So to do that, I want to start with a brief bird's eye view of who Nestle is and why automation would be important to us. We'll then take a quick look at what we think the automation challenge is, and we'll focus on a couple of ideas that we think can be done in the short term, things that can be done by adopting current standards and practices, integration, these sorts of things. And then we'll take a look at a couple of ideas that are maybe a little bit longer term, some things that may take a little bit more work. So to start, an idea of who Nestle is. Nestle wants to be the global leader in health, wellness, and nutrition. We want to be trusted by all of our stakeholders, and we want to set the financial standard for our industry. In doing that, I apologize I have to show 2012 figures. The 2013 haven't quite been released yet. That should be next week. But in 2012, we had about $100 billion in sales. We had good growth, good operating profit, 340,000 employees across 470 factories throughout the world. So, fairly substantial manufacturing base. As you can imagine, with a manufacturing base like that, we have a large portfolio of products, about 10,000 different products in our portfolio. We've got things that you can consume any time of day, any time of life, from birth to the golden years, morning to night, for every member of the family, including your pets. We sell about 1 billion products a day, just to give you an idea of the size. To do that, we need automation, all the way from raw ingredients, materials handling, up through processing, forming, packaging, and logistics. So automation is a very important part of what we do within our manufacturing base. So what I want to do is take a look at what the automation challenge is. Now, before I go into that, I have to make a statement. This is not a feasibility study. We didn't do any cost analysis. This is a what if. This is a what would we like to see that would make our life a whole lot easier, especially for the guys in the factory. Some of these things may already be on your roadmaps. You may be doing some of them actively. Some of them maybe not. The idea is not to point fingers. It's just to give some ideas of where we think there are some gaps in the technology. So what I did was I sat down with a couple of guys from my team, and we spent about 5 minutes just not even brainstorming, brain dumping ideas. What are we missing? What are we lacking? And we came up with a list that I couldn't even fit on one slide, so I cut it down. And obviously in this forum, we're not going to go through everything. And by the way, you can take all the pictures you want, but this will be available as well. So I'm going to look at a couple of these ideas in detail relative to things that should be achievable today. And then, like I said, we'll look at some longer-term things. So in the short term, one of the things that we're seeing that we really need to focus on, that you've already heard today, is data management. We need information, not data. With all of the connectivity today, there are millions of data points that we can get, and they just flood the operator. The operator has no idea what to do with all of this information, or not information, all of this data, all of these points that just don't mean a whole lot to them. And we can see this if we look at a standard HMI. the operator interface looks like a Christmas tree. There's lights of every color flashing all over the place. There's pop-ups on top of pop-ups on top of pop-ups. And the operator, at a glance, doesn't necessarily see what's critical in his process. Now, I know that there's better ways to do it. We've all read the effective HMI books. But the tools aren't necessarily there to help us do it. And that's what we're looking for, is maybe some design tools for being able to deal with all of this data that's coming in and display it to the operators in a way that makes sense to them, that really highlights what's important. So that when something is flashing on the screen, they know they have to do something about it. Not that it's just another data point somewhere. We see the same thing with alarms and events. You have an event that happens on this machine, and it causes another event somewhere else in the machine or on a machine over here, and all of this comes into the operator. And if you watch them, every once in a while they just walk over the screen and hit Acknowledge All without even looking. They don't care, because they don't have the time to go through and figure out what all of these data mean. They know that it's all interconnected somehow, and they know that they're going to waste too much time trying to figure out what's being said on the screen. Just go look at the machine. So we need a way to better manage all of this data and provide it to the operator at the right time in the right format, whether that's mobile devices, whether that's better use of graphics on the HMI. The point remains that we need to control the data and provide information. Now, once we have the information, we need some way to transmit that information between systems. Inside the box, we certainly want to have the best technologies, and those are typically proprietary technologies. Company X does it one way, Company Y does it a different way, and that's okay. That's what their technology is. But outside the box, I need connectivity. I have an iPhone here. Does anybody have a Samsung Galaxy? Okay, so we got a couple of Samsung Galaxies. What do you think would happen if I couldn't make a phone call to them because I have an iPhone? And Apple does it differently than Samsung. How long would cellular technology last? I mean, that's not how the world works. They have a Galaxy because they like the features of the Galaxy. I have an iPhone because I like the features of the iPhone, and that's great. But they still need to communicate. Now, I know we hear all the time, we hear the reasoning, yes, but, and I'll say some names here because I have to give some examples. Profinet is a standard, everybody can use it. No, Ethernet IP is a standard, everyone can use that. Well, no, it's EtherCAT. You know what? They don't work together. That's the point. We need something that does. We need something that inside your box, it's your stuff. But when I got to send data, or information more importantly, between machines, I just need a way to do it. I don't want to have to fight it. I don't want to have to figure out all these different protocols. I just want to send the information that's necessary to improve my manufacturing systems. So the next one that I want to look at is the use of some maybe new, unique technologies. Some of these are already being done. Some of them maybe could be done a little bit more. For example, QR codes. I got here and wanted to go do some shopping yesterday. I come from Switzerland, but I'm an American, and obviously every time I come, my wife has a long list of things I got to get. It's just the way it is. So I decided I was going to hop on the, I think it's called iRide, down International Boulevard, and do some shopping. So I was looking through one of the brochures, and I saw a little QR code for the system. I thought, okay, I'll scan that. That'll probably take me to a website that'll tell me how much it costs. I can figure out schedules. No, it pulled up a nice YouTube video with some guy walking me through, step by step, everything I have to do to get my pass to ride on the iRide. It was quite clever. Why don't we have that all the way down to the component level? Some of our machine builders are already doing this. For example, scan the code and figure out what the lockout-tagout procedure is for the machine. Shows you step by step. But what about down on the controller, or the I/O cards, or the instruments themselves? It would be nice if I could scan a code on that and it can tell me how to troubleshoot it, how to configure it, or even better, it can use my location services, figure out what plant I'm in, who my local distributor is, look at his inventory and say, there's one on his shelf. Do you want to buy it? It can be here in 45 minutes. Or there isn't one available. The supplier can have one to you in 3 weeks. So here's a workaround. The information's there, but right now my guy has to get on the phone and he's got to call through 2 or 3 different people to finally get the guy he needs that can give him that information. Why not give it to him right away? Use QR codes for things like obsolescence. We know that this device has been installed for X amount of time, and by the way, it's going into an obsolete phase. Here's the replacement. Here's what you would need to do to upgrade. Just some ideas. The use of mobile devices in messaging. We're seeing more of this already, but I think it could get better. A lot of the maintenance guys are getting to the point where they have smart devices that should be able to tell them exactly what's wrong with the machine before they ever get there. Send it to them. Message it. And then the last one would be some sort of diagnostics improvements. One of the things that we find difficult for especially new guys, they get in, it's the first time working on a machine, the machine's down, they have to do something to fix it. They have no idea where to start. Well, you know what? That machine knows why it's not running. It knows what it's waiting for. Tell me. It's that easy. Now, there may be some work behind that the guy's got to do, but if the machine is not moving to the next phase of production because a door is open, just show me. Tell me what door is open, or a photo eye's not made up, or whatever the situation may be. Be able to display that and avoid the operator having to call a technician who gets out his computer, plugs it into the controller, and maybe makes a bad change as he's troubleshooting and trying to figure out what's going on. Just tell me, where's it blocked? What's happening? What else can I do as an operator or as a technician on first line of defense to get this system back up and running? Other ideas could be things like, instead of just displaying running hours of a motor, tell me, what does that actually mean? I got a new technician. He's just out of school. Bright young guy. Walks in. He sees a monitor that says that this motor's been running 2,000 hours. Ooh, 2,000 hours. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I need to do something with this motor. Because he doesn't understand that, 2,000 hours, that's 3 months of operation. I shouldn't be having a problem with a motor after 2,000 hours. But all he sees is a piece of data that says 2,000 hours. What's it mean? What does that actually tell him? Yeah, it's been running 2,000 hours, so what? And this is where the information piece comes back into this. It's not just data, it's got to mean something, and it's got to be something that's actionable. So those are some of the short-term sorts of ideas that come from things that exist already. I don't think anything new needs to be invented there. It's just an application of technologies that already exist. Looking a little longer term, we can maybe do things better if we do them a different way. We've already heard some of this morning from a Nestle standpoint, and we did not collaborate on these presentations ahead of time. So again, this is a good thing. What we would like to see is you got a design that somebody's done. A process engineer somewhere has designed a new piece of equipment, a new process, whatever it is. And right now, he hands me a flow sheet, and I take that flow sheet and I take all of the I/O points off of it, and I assign tags to them, and I put them in my PLC, and then I have to go through and I have to develop in some other piece of software the FDS that's going to tell me how to program the PLC, and then I got to do all the graphics, and I'm using 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces of software to do this. Why can't we have something that just takes the CAD drawing, extracts the information right off the CAD drawing for what all my I/O points are, creates a tool where I can graphically develop my FDS, automatically generate some PLC code, automatically generate some base graphical objects, that then my guy, all he has to do is take this one package, this one software package, to create his entire automation platform. Like I said, some of these I know are already in production, or in design phase. But I think that this, to Sandy's point, would be a place where we really would gain a lot of value as end users. Being able to have integrated design tools that we can do things in parallel, not in sequence, that we don't have to learn multiple different tools. It's just one integrated design environment. The next one, and one that I think is very key for us, is we have to learn how to improve security, safety with all of this new data management, information management that's coming. And we expect our automation engineers to know a whole lot these days. They need to understand the process. They need to understand instrumentation techniques. They need to understand all of the different automation pieces, HMI, PLC, MES, etc. And by the way, they need to understand networking and IT and security issues and all of this. So what we're looking for is some kind of Superman, the automation Superman, the guy who can just do it all. Well, you know what? In my factories, I usually only have 1 or 2 automation guys in a factory. This is a lot for them, you know, and even Superman had his downside. He wasn't perfect. Kryptonite would kill him. Well, our kryptonite, we tend to find, is IT. Automation guys are not the best at IT. That's just not what we do. And if we get somebody who knows the IT world, please don't ask him to program a PID, because he can maybe spell PID, but he can't tell you anything else about it. That's just the way it is. We're specialists. So what we need is some sort of tools to help us configure what this network infrastructure needs to look like, to do it correctly, to do it with security, with safety, to be able to design a system that meets the needs of the automation folks without the automation people having to be IT experts. So basically what we're looking for is just the tools to help us succeed, to be that Superman in the factory, because that's the reality of life today. These guys have to do that, but they need help doing it. So to summarize, I believe that there's some low-hanging fruits out there, some easier things to do, things that can be done in short order by leveraging existing technologies, existing tools, looking at implementation of standards, maybe in a different way. I think that can help us in the short term very significantly, but I think we can also do some things long term that make automation easier to do without taking away from the fact that you still need to have an engineer who understands automation in order to do automation. But there are some ways that we can make his life a lot easier. And I know that that's going to take an effort on all of our parts. It's going to take an effort from the suppliers. It's going to take an effort from machine builders. It's going to take an effort from end users to specify what we need, to work together to try and make this vision happen to where it just happens. We just do the automation. And that's where also organizations such as the ARC come into play in being able to lay out that roadmap, help us understand what can be done, when it can be done, what kind of solutions would match what the suppliers can offer with the given technologies and what the end users need. Thank you.